Was good, y'all? Track Kennedy with StudioSounds.com back with a brand new tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down a beat I made a while ago, trying to recreate the feel of some Gunna Lil Baby type beats. The main thing I really want to accomplish was getting some of those laid back acoustic type guitars, and I was really happy with the final sound, so I want to break this down for you guys in case some of you guys find it helpful as well. This track contains no samples other than pattern 1, which are just some synths that I played and then exported as a sample to time stretch. I'll break down exactly what went into that pattern for you guys in this tutorial as well. I only used our new Party Pack Electra X preset bank, a couple of percussion sounds, the submarine drum kit, and Omnisphere for this entire beat. If you want to pick up any of the kits I'm using, you can do so right now at StudioSounds.com. Thank you guys for all the support in our products and videos. It really helps us a ton, and we have a lot more on the way. Without further talking though, let's jump into this tutorial and show you guys how this beat was made. So to start this beat off, I'm going to go ahead and break down the A section of the hook, then the B section, move through the verse, and then show you guys the intro quickly. So the entire beat kind of came together because of this little pattern that I started on pattern 1. I found this little organ that we have in our Party Pack preset bank for Electra, and it almost has like a flutish type sound to it, which I really like this sound, but here's what it sounds like just by itself. So as you guys can hear, it has a couple effects on there, and the first effect is just a glitch. So I'm just using a little tape stop every so often just to make it a little bit more interesting. Then I added a slight little delay just to give it a little bit of bounce, and then just a quick little parametric EQ to cut some of the bottom end. And I thought that sounded good, but I wanted to continue layering. And for this particular beat, I want to just do something kind of different. So I liked kind of the earthy tone that organ had, but I wanted to add some synths to it. So I added this pluck called Aries from Party Pack again, using this kind of pattern. So as you guys can see, it's basically just an arpeggio with the chords that I'm playing just an octave higher. So I thought that sounded pretty good, but it was a little bit busy. So what I did was I went ahead and I put a gross beat on the master channel, and I just put a half speed on this to get this kind of sound from this pattern. So it got rid of a lot of those little slowdowns that I had initially, but it was just a lot more relaxed. So once I had that, I went ahead and I exported that out as just a little pattern, and then I imported that pattern into the playlist. So let's jump to the next section. I'll show you guys how I chopped this and what I did with this little sample. So when you actually take pattern 1 into your playlist, you kind of get something like this when it's time stretched. And if we actually take a look at the pattern that's used, this one is actually slightly chopped up. So it's very, very slight, but I'll just show you guys what the original sounds like quickly. And then I'll play the little chopped up version. So that was the original. So the first thing I did to that was I went ahead and I pitched it all the way up, and we want to just make sure we turn this gross speed off now. But I went ahead and I pitched it all the way up just to kind of have that slower kind of bounce, but still make it a little bit more melodic. So when you pitch it all the way up, this is what you have. And I thought that sounded pretty good, but as I was kind of playing with the track and continuing layer, I ended up chopping it in the end just to make it kind of fit the track a little bit better. So if we take a look at the chopped sample, what it's actually doing is it has the same exact beginning, but now this little second section, instead of extending it out, I basically just chopped it into 2 and then repeated that. And then once I had that, I just copied and pasted the same thing over here. And then from there, I started to layer. So on pattern 2, actually, let me just go ahead and play this quickly. So that's what you end up with. And then from there, I want to start kind of layering to that. So the first thing I did was I added these little guitars in Omnisphere. I added the classic nylon strings. And by itself right now, this is what it sounds like. So if you kind of take a look at what I did, I just basically moved the little center note for my chords up 1 octave just to kind of make it a little bit more spaced out and have a little bit more room in the chord, if that makes any sense to you guys. And basically to kind of program the actual guitar to sound like that, all I did was I went into the little miscellaneous functions, used the arpeggio direction up and down, set the timing to 2 steps, and then just played my chord how I wanted to kind of get that sound I have right there. Then I went ahead and I put that onto its own effects channel. I added a slight little distortion to it. As you guys can tell, I turned it down the mix level to about, looks like around 5%, so it's very, very little, just to add a slight little harshness to the guitar and make it kind of not as pretty. And here are the settings that I used for that. The next thing I did was just add a little reverb to it. I think reverb on guitars always sounds good. It gives me that kind of little classic rockish type feel, so I thought that would just kind of sound good and make it sound a little bit more natural. And then I just add a little EQ, cut a lot of the bottom end I don't need to basically not interfere with my 808 and what's coming later, and then just boost a little bit of the frequencies, give a little bit of presence there. So like I said, by itself, this is what it sounds like again. And with the track, this is what it sounds like. And as you guys can tell, the timing of the guitars is slightly different than the samples, so there's like a little slight section where it's playing something different, but I kind of like that little sourness it kind of adds to it. It helps make it feel a little bit more natural and not so kind of digital and perfect in my opinion, so I like that. But anyway, once I had that guitar, I thought it sounded good, but I wanted to kind of add a little bit more to it, so I added a second guitar, the Flamenco Guitar A, playing the exact same thing, exact same settings, exact same effects channel, and I just added this in here to kind of stack them, so this is what they sound like together. I thought those kind of variations in their tone slightly just help to fill the track up and just make it kind of a little bit more believable. So when you layer those with the samples, what you end up with. So I thought that sounded pretty good, gave me that kind of Baby and Lil Gunna type vibe. So after this, I wanted to start kind of adding my drums and getting that bounce to it. So let's jump in the next section. I'll show you guys what I added. So the drums are actually a little bit more open on the A section of the hook and kind of get a little bit more busy as the track progresses. So I'll show you guys the A section and move to the more busier parts. So the very first thing I added to this was just a little clap from Submarine. Clap 1, just shortened it up slightly. So that sounded pretty good. The next thing I wanted to add to this was some percussion. So I added this little bongo in here. And this is just from a little percussion kit that I had laying around. I'll probably drop, I guess, a little bit more of a comprehensive percussion kit for you guys soon. But you can find all kinds of these samples online if you don't have any right now. But it's just this basically. And then I just checked the key of it just to see what the pitch regions was. It was just a C. So I didn't really have to pitch it to the track. But then I just added this simple little pattern. So I thought that sounded pretty good. It starts to kind of give you a little bit of a vibe, but I wanted to add more to it. So I added a second little sample as well. Check the pitch on these. It's a C again, so no reason to pitch it. But if it was a different note, like if it was an E, for example, you just come over to your E, and now you know that the actual sound is mapped to the correct keys on your MIDI keyboard, so you can play it like an instrument. But anyway, that was basically already done for me, so I just took it down to the actual note. And here's the pattern that it plays, just kind of fills in all those sections, but they kind of play off of each other. So here's what it sounds like. So I felt like those bongos just gave it a nice little groove without even having to add the hi-hat yet. So the next thing I wanted to add to this was the 808. So I used the 808 from Electra, again from our party pack preset bank, called the 808 Sub 1. And this is the pattern. So it just kind of follows along with the chords and just kind of mimics what's going on up there. From there, we have a crash right here on pattern 11, which is just a simple 808 crash. And then we have the same crash, basically just reversed, to use as a little transition effect. So you see those as pattern 11 and 12. So as you guys can tell, a bunch of little simple patterns, but when you stack and you layer them, you end up with something a lot more interesting than just kind of your average type stuff. And just starts to give you a nice little bounce on the groove to work with. So the only other thing that's playing on this A section of the hook is this little melody that I added on top just for the hook section. So it's pattern 13, and this is another preset. This is the PL Calm Mood from Electra X, again, the party pack preset bank. And by itself is what it sounds like. Really simple, but when you combine it with the hook section, is what you end up with. So a really simple pattern and melody, but just helps to give you a nice little kind of top end melody kind of latch onto, or give the artist kind of an idea of what to do with the hook. So that's basically the A section of the hook. Let's jump to the next section. I'll show you guys B. So for the actual B section of the hook, we only have 3 patterns that are going to change: a open hi-hat, a regular hi-hat, and a kick. So the very first pattern is just this little closed hi-hat, and this is just actually a MIDI file that I imported from Submarine, and I just changed it a little bit, just kind of fit the groove of my pattern, but with the track, this is what it sounds like. And then to that, I layered a kick pattern, just make it a little bit more aggressive. Just give it a little bit more punch for that 808. And this is from the Submarine drum kit again, just cut a little bit of the tail end and trimmed it. And then the last thing is just this little open hi-hat right here, and this is from Submarine as well. I just went ahead and I truncated it, so you just want to turn all these knobs to the left, turn the whole to the right, and it'll cut off as soon as you let go on your MIDI keyboard. And this is the pattern right here. So those are basically kind of the main drums for the B section. They just kind of help to fill it in, make it a little bit more busy. And then from there, it's going to move to the actual first part of the verse. So if you actually take a look at it, what really changes for the verse is we get rid of this top end melody over here. And then this kick actually changes into a different pattern, which is slightly more open. So I just kind of changed up the little kick pattern, got rid of some of those rolls to make the first part of the verse a little bit more open, and then it changes to that second kind of more busy kick on the B section of the verse. Let's just go ahead and take a listen to that real quick. And then if you listen to a lot of Gunna Lil Baby music, their verses are usually really short compared to other beats. So that's kind of the format I followed in here as well. Made the verses really short and just kind of included extra hooks in here. And then the only other real change up is pattern 3. On pattern 3, I have a simple little ARP in here playing one note. And this is from the party pack again. It's the AR sauce. And for the actual effects on this, I just have a glitch again, doing the same thing with that little slowdown, and then just a slight little delay to give it movement again. And by itself, this is what it sounds like. And then when you add it to the verse, it just helps to give it a nice little melodic second piece to it and just change it up a little bit. So just go ahead and take a listen to that from kind of midway through part A. And then just moves to the hook again from there. Really simple. And then for the intro, as you guys can tell, nothing really special here. I just played the sample with the guitars. Then I had the little ARP come in over here and then basically just use that reverse crash to bring it into the hook section. So really simple, as you guys can tell, and I think I said the hook section, it actually starts with the verse, then moves to the hook, then to the verse, to the hook. And then for the end right here, I just did a quick little outro piece with just the sample and the guitars playing again after the hook. And that pretty much does it for the beat. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something new. Any of the kits that I use can be found at studiosounds.com. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting. My name is Track Kennedy. Until next time, studiosounds.com.